Hi, I'm Marianne Borer with HIMSS, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for taking time to be here today. We have an exciting program for you, but before we get started, I do want to highlight a few things so that you'll know how you can participate in today's event. All the engagement tools are resizable and movable on your screen, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space. If you should need technical support during today's event, you can type your question in the Q&A window in your media player. You can use that same box to submit questions for our speakers at any time. And if we don't get to your question today, we'll follow up with you offline. Engage with today's content and let us know how you're feeling with the emoji reactions. Now, if you missed anything, don't worry. You'll receive an email within 24 hours with a link to the on-demand recording when it becomes available. So now, let's start with today's program, Enterprise Grade Clinical Communications in 2026, Cloud Resiliency, Interoperability, and AI-Ready Workflows, Lessons from HCA Healthcare, sponsored by Mobile Heartbeat. Our moderator today is Dave Roth, Interim CMO at Mobile Heartbeat. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Marianne. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Dave Roth. I'll be your moderator today. As was mentioned, we're here to talk about something that's mission critical in healthcare, how vital clinical communication platforms evolve to support resiliency, interoperability, and AI-ready workflows. And we're doing that through the lens of one of the largest health systems in the country, HCA Healthcare. So if we step back, just looking at all the challenges in 2026 related to technology, we could think of it in three ways. If you have responsibility for availability of critical systems, you might be thinking, can we maintain care continuity in the midst of cyber or system failures that might hit? If you're responsible for turning data into information that gets used, you're thinking, how can we make fragmented data and systems work in real time across meaningful workflows? Or if you're looking to leverage AI for all of its potential, as many are, can we deploy AI safely at scale without adding risk, burden, and governance failures? So, in other words, hospital IT leaders need a communication and workflow platform that stays operational under stress, connects fragmented systems and data in real time, and provides a trustworthy foundation for governed AI inside everyday care workflows. So this isn't just about technology, everybody. It's about what happens when technology, operations, and clinical workflows finally come together. So we're moving to our speaker intro, and we're honored to have on today with me is Jason Dennis. Jason is the AVP of Cloud at HCA Healthcare. We also have Ahmed Elbeshbeshy, Director of Nursing Technologies, Engineering, and Automation, and Heather Johnson, AVP of Nursing Technologies. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's call. So as for our outline or agenda, we'll take a look at resiliency plus scale lessons. We'll talk more about interoperability and workflow innovation. We'll then talk about what enterprise CC&C must do in 2026. And the last section will have a little bit of Q&A. So before we jump to that, first we're going to stand back and ask, who is Mobile Heartbeat? So it's helpful to ground ourselves in the impact we're driving across HCA Healthcare as well. So Mobile Heartbeat is the enterprise clinical communication and collaboration platform for healthcare, powering real-time, secure collaboration across care teams, helping ensure the right information reaches the right person at the right time. Today, the platform is deployed across 190 facilities within HCA Healthcare alone, supporting hundreds of millions of messages, calls, alerts, and broadcasts annually. This scale translates directly into meaningful operational and clinical improvements, such as faster ED to floor admissions, reduced nurse response times, and significant time savings through streamlined communication workflows. We're also seeing measurable outcomes in patient care, including reductions in response times for bed exits and even decreases in patient falls. Together, these results highlight how Mobile Heartbeat offers not just a communication tool, but a critical infrastructure component enabling safer, more efficient care delivery across the enterprise. What is Banyan? Banyan is the underlying platform that brings these communication tools together into a connected, team based experience. It's designed to support how care teams work across roles, departments, and shifts by organizing communication around shared work like patient care or unit coordination rather than just individual messages. The goal with Banyan is to make communication more intuitive, reduce friction, and help teams stay aligned without adding extra complexity to their day. In other words, Banyan is the system of action that complements the EHR, enabling instant collaboration, smarter workflows, and rapid response. Care teams move faster, IT scales efficiently, and patients benefit from safer, more coordinated care. All right, so why this matters. Hospital IT leaders need a communication and workflow platform that stays resilient under stress, connects fragmented systems in real time, and enables responsible AI across daily care delivery. That's critical and only getting harder as we continue looking forward, as we mentioned, into 2026 and beyond. Okay, so now it's time to talk cloud strategy, resiliency, plus scalability lessons. Jason, let's start with you. Can you give us a quick sense of your role and how you think about applications like Banyan?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I lead our cloud services as well as our site reliability engineering organizations here at HCA. My job is, being responsible for our cloud providers such as Microsoft Azure as well as Google GCP, and also overseeing our entire enterprise cloud journey to the cloud, as well as making sure those applications in the cloud are designed in a resilient fashion.
Got it. And so you mentioned looking at this from a full enterprise and infrastructure perspective. From that perspective, why should health systems care about how a clinical communication platform is built?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of clinical applications, as most people know, they're legacy applications. Those legacy applications, they're not really designed for being cloud native. However, mobile heartbeat is one of the first and only applications that we've seen that have been truly cloud native, designed to take advantage of all these cloud providers have to offer.
Right on. Thanks for mentioning that. So you mentioned cloud native. What does that mean in the real world for a health system?
Yeah, mobile heartbeat has created this next level of resiliency that we don't see from a lot of the clinical applications. Meaning that I'm not lying awake at night worried about what if the cloud region fails. Also, because it's in the cloud, I'm no longer having to worry about this massive hardware footprint that I must keep and maintain and update. I also sleep better because I know that the extra level of security these cloud providers have around their platforms, Mobile Heartbeat has designed their application to take advantage of that.
Got it. And so thanks for setting that stage why cloud native and resiliency matter. Let's bring that down to a level into what does that look like day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. These cloud providers, they spend billions of dollars a year on their platforms. You can use basic infrastructure as a service in the cloud, or you can go to the top level what these cloud providers offer, which is truly being cloud native, which means you're using those native services that these cloud providers have spent billions of dollars on. By building your application to be cloud native, you're taking advantage of what they're best at, which is designing highly resilient and secure platforms.
Got it. Jason, thank you. That's very helpful. Let me make sure I'm capturing this correctly. From an enterprise IT perspective, the architecture is key. So when a platform is truly cloud native, not just hosted in the cloud, resiliency, scalability, and security are built in by design. That reduces dependence on hardware, it minimizes risk from regional failures, and it allows systems to scale across large enterprises without managing countless instances. Did I get all that right?
That's right, Dave.
All right. Thank you so much, Jason. All right, Ahmed, over to you. We're going to talk about interoperability and innovation. So, Jason talked about cloud resiliency from an infrastructure standpoint. How does that translate into your world supporting clinicians day to day?
Yeah, Dave, sure. So my team is responsible for ensuring the operability of that Banyan platform. It's critical because this app really is dependent on the clinicians making sure this application is available to them at all times.
Thanks, Ahmed. We hear a lot about cloud benefits. What does that look like in practice for your team?
Sure. So being in the cloud is a great benefit because we have auto scaling, right? So if we have a high CPU at 2 a.m. in the morning, I don't have to get a human involved, right? With auto scaling, that could be very seamless, done behind the scenes, not even letting the clinician know that there's an issue. And basically that just keeps more operability uptime.
Got it. And also thinking about, I think you mentioned integrations. Why are they so critical in clinical communications?
Sure. Integrations, is, for example, why do I need multiple systems? So if I integrate, for example, nurse call, I hit that pillow speaker, that it needs to go to that Banyan phone to alert the nurse that there's an issue or there's a patient needs some attention. Most importantly is your code blue. That will alert to all the phones on the floor, which is patient safety.
Got it. And that's critical. Um, so as we think about mobile first strategy, I love that HCA is a mobile first organization. How does Banyan support that particular strategy?
Sure. So, this allows a secure platform for our clinicians to communicate over, right? We don't want a clinician using your PHI data over their local network like AT&T, Verizon. So with this secure platform, we ensure that they're in a entrusted circle of communicating their PHI data across clinicians.
Got it. So from your perspective, if you had to sum it up, what does enterprise grade clinical communication mean from you in your seat?
Sure. To me, it goes back to ensuring that the system's always available, it's secure, it's integrated, and clinicians get the alerts they communicate in order to do their jobs effectively.
Awesome. Thank you, Ahmed. Let me reflect back on what we discussed here. From an operational standpoint, cloud native platforms simplify the support. Auto scaling handles demand spikes, failover reduces off hours escalation, and the system stays available without manual intervention. Deep integrations are critical because when alerts don't flow cleanly, it becomes a safety patient concern and not just a technical one. And having a secure mobile platform changes behavior by giving clinicians a better alternative to personal devices. Is that a fair summary?
That sounds great. Thanks, Dave.
Cool. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about clinical and IT convergence, which ultimately determines the success, how this impacts clinicians and their workflow. So over to you, Heather. You sit at the intersection of clinical care and technology. Can you tell us a bit about your role and how you see that connection evolving?
Yes, I am the AVP of Nursing Technology. So my team encompasses direct patient care or bedside applications. Patient communication being one of those, monitoring, telemetry, the OR suite, and patient logistics. So I'm a nurse by background, wearing an IT hat every day. It's critical to bridging the gap between the two, I feel, understanding the clinical workflow as well as what we can deliver from a technical perspective every day.
Very cool. Um, Heather, we're hearing that 2026 is really the year that clinical and technology teams come together. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely, we are. We're looking at this dichotomy of the two coming together. Technology not only enhances the clinical workflow, but augments the clinical workflow for sure.
Cool. Um, with a lens on reducing cognitive burden, there's a lot of discussion about cognitive burden on the clinicians. How are you thinking about that?
We're really heavily invested in that right now in alarm fatigue. When we first started this journey, we thought everybody needed to know everything, right? And now it's about getting the right information to the right person at the right time. Nurses are seeing just a ton of information hitting them daily. So, how do we make sure that what we're delivering is at the right time to the right person in the right manner for sure?
Got it. So then, how does a platform like Banyan help address those challenges?
Yeah, Banyan gives us a lot of opportunity, not only from the high resiliency standpoint, but also from a workflow perspective with things like patient channels, having a care team coordinate around that patient and delivering information just in time to the right people on the care team.
Got it. Um, so you mentioned channels. So just a quick comment on channels, provide more context to frame what channels are and why they're so important. Specifically in Banyan, they are persistent, always on spaces designed to support team collaboration and help solve patient, operational, and logistical challenges in real time. So, unlike broadcasts, which are one way, or group chats that expire at the end of a shift. So, channels remain continuously visible and searchable across shifts, creating a reliable source of truth for ongoing work. Staff can easily discover and join public channels relevant to their unit, patients, or role, ensuring the right people stay informed. And because communication history is preserved, new team members, such as physical therapists or case managers, can quickly get up to speed without needing lengthy handoffs. This structure eliminates the need to sift through long text threads and supports seamless continuity of communication across shifts and days. All right, thanks for that. So, Heather, what are some of the biggest lessons learned from implementing this platform?
Oh, wow. I think one of the lessons learned is that you can't educate enough, making sure you have that continual engagement even after go live. It was a big undertaking, but critical to our success for sure.
Got it. Yeah, we call this, and it says so on the slide. We call this a bit of a last mile concept. Looking ahead, what excites you most about where this is going?
I think technology is such a critical part of every workflow, and the opportunity to truly augment how clinicians are delivering care. By bringing the clinical and technology together, that's where the future is for sure. And we're seeing that daily here.
Got it. So, what you're describing gets to this core challenge. I mentioned this in healthcare. It's called the last mile. We have incredible amounts of data, sophisticated systems, but the value isn't realized until that information reaches the clinician or the care team in the moment they need to act. From your perspective, what does it take to truly close that last mile in a way that works for frontline teams?
Yeah, we already have so much data in healthcare, right? But a lot of it lives in different systems like the EMR, the monitoring platforms, logistics tools, and clinicians oftentimes have to go hunt for it. For me, the real opportunity is bringing this information together and delivering it directly to the care team in a way that it's actionable. If you can surface the right insight tied to the patient at the moment, right where the clinicians are already communicating, that's where and when the data starts to reduce the burden instead of adding to it. Um, and as I think about AI, that becomes even more powerful. AI can, help turn all of that existing data into answers, but only if there's a platform that can deliver those insights to the front line in real time.
Got it. Thank you. So many organizations still rely on fragmented systems to piece together the clinical and operational data. With Banyan AI agents like adaptive messaging and quick commands, accessing and embedding data within Banyan to quickly impact care team delivery and decision making, how do you see this not only improving day to day operations, but also set the foundation for more advanced AI driven insights?
Yeah, it starts with a challenge every health system is dealing with. We have no shortage of data, but it's spread across so many different systems that it's difficult for care teams to access in a meaningful way in the moment they need it. What's compelling about adaptive messaging and quick commands is that they bring this information directly to the clinical workflow right at the point of communication instead of logging into multiple systems and chasing down the information. Care teams can access things like patient context, operational data, even bed availability in real time right within the conversation they're having it. And that simplicity and the immediacy is critical because it's not easy to use. If it's not easy to use, it won't get adopted. Um, from an operational standpoint, this has real impact, whether it's improving the patient throughput by giving visibility into capacity or enabling more efficient clinical decision making. You're really reducing that friction and helping teams act faster with better information. And I think the other thing, what's exciting is this also laid the groundwork from where things are going with AI. Once you've connected the disparate data sources and made them accessible in the workflow, you can start layering in more advanced capabilities like AI agents and that don't just respond to requests, but proactively surface insights. For example, identifying trends in unit performance or hitting bottlenecks, bringing attention to things that might otherwise be missed. I think that's really where this becomes a differentiator. It's not just about accessing data, it's about integrating the data into how care teams already work and then evolving it into intelligent support to help them guide decisions in real time. And I think this is where we really truly start seeing that meaningful transformation.
Perfect. There's a lot there. So let me reflect on back on all that. This isn't just about solving fragmentation we mentioned earlier. It's really about embedding real-time clinical operational data directly into the communication workflow so teams can act in the moment. And by doing that, you're not just improving throughput and decision making today, but you're setting the stage now for AI to proactively guide those decisions going forward. Did I capture that?
Absolutely, Dave. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Heather. All right, now we're going to base some questions here on just top pitfalls and how to avoid them. And so healthcare environments are incredibly fragmented. EMR, nurse call, telemetry. What's the biggest pitfall you see? Jason, I'm going to look to you. And how does a platform like Banyan help unify those workflows?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest pitfall is assuming that moving to the cloud automatically delivers resiliency. The fact is that many organizations are just picking up their applications and moving to the cloud, which carries forward a lot of the same failure points and operational burdens that we see within their existing data centers. If an application isn't truly cloud native, you're not leveraging multi-regional resiliency or any of the auto scaling or the built-in security models that these cloud providers offers. This creates a lot of hidden risks, especially in healthcare where downtime impacts care delivery. So there's some things that you can do to avoid this. Um, One of those is design for failure as a given, not an exception. And then also, prioritize the platforms that are built on these managed cloud services and not just hosted infrastructure in the cloud. Another area is to look at standardizing on architecture that scales and fails over automatically without human intervention when these cloud providers do have issues. The whole goal is to make sure you don't have a single point of failure and there are no dependencies on manual recovery.
Awesome. That's a great description. Thank you. All right. So, other pitfall, what's the risk of continuing, and I'll look to you, Ahmed, with
Sure.
with disconnected point solutions instead of moving to a unified platform?
Yeah, Dave, sure. So the biggest challenge is the individual systems, right? It's how they connect, how they communicate in real time. In healthcare, interoperability is a patient safety issue. It's not just an IT issue, right? Um, but basically from there is we have to continue to make sure the workflow, if one of the workflows break, it's the whole system breaks, not just that integration. And what are some of the things we could do to avoid that is one, treat the integration infrastructure as important, not just as an add-on to this Banyan system. Two, ensure the loop communication, alerts are sent, alerts are received to the EMR, and it's acknowledged. Three, you can leverage the platform, right? Normalize, orchestrate the data across the platform. That way you have standardization. Uh, four is build the resiliency at peak and off hours and just not at the steady time of the service while clinicians are using the platform.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Then the next question, really, we're gonna think back about our conversation, the intersection of clinical care and IT. Heather, I'll look to you. What's the biggest pitfall when trying to unify workflows, and how can organizations better align the two?
Yeah, the biggest pitfall I see is designing solutions either from a pure IT lens or a pure clinical lens. And, that leads to added cognitive burden, alert fatigue, poor adoption, even if the technology is sound. Fragmentation isn't just technical, it's experienced by clinicians as workflow friction. So, some of the things we think about are starting with the clinical workflow, not the technology, and then focusing on the delivery method, the right information to the right person at the right time, and using the platforms that unify communication around the plate at the patient, not just the systems themselves. Um, and of course, always maintain ongoing engagement and education post go live to ensure the adoption and optimization opportunities. You can't just go live with it and then think it's done. It's the care and feeding of the platform post go live.
Got it. Well, there certainly are a lot of potential pitfalls, and so looking to all of you for advice on how to avoid these things is really appreciated. Also, want to thank everyone for this really, really rich discussion, and turn it over because we're going to open things up for some Q&A.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dave. And thanks to our speakers for a wonderful discussion. I want to first remind everyone that you can continue to submit your questions to the Q&A window in your media player. We've already got some questions here. So here's our first question. Jason, this one's for you. A lot of vendors say they're cloud-based, but what should we be looking for to know if a platform is truly resilient?
Yeah, the one thing that's always common in IT is failure scenarios, right? We deal with those on a day-to-day basis. And so, when you're thinking about, your application, think about those failure scenarios. And specifically when you're looking at, a cloud-based application, all these cloud, whether it's a Microsoft cloud or it's a Google cloud or an Amazon cloud, they have something called regions or zones. And so the simple way to look at it is like, okay, if that region that my application is hosted in, does my application continue to function? If your application is truly resilient, the answer to that should be yes. If that cloud region fails, your application should continue to function and service your, clinicians and patients just like it was before.
Fantastic. And we have another question. Ahmed, this question's for you.
Sure.
In a real hospital environment with so many systems, how do you make sure that alerts and communications don't fall through the cracks?
Yeah. So when you set up your observability platform, in our case, we use Dynatrace here at HCA. So you want to create a couple dashboards, couple synthetics, right? We want to create some for our product analysts, some for our engineers, right? So because some alerts will be pertain to the SRE side, some will pertain more to the product side. Not only importantly, there is you want to make sure these alerts are going to maybe an event response center to ensure that these are acted on at 2 o'clock in the morning. That way they are addressed immediately. And shortly, a lot of times you gain your alerts sometimes through trial and error, right? You may have a production issue. You say, uh-oh, I don't alert on this. That was how you learn, and that's how you start alerting and improving your alerts to avoid from any crack.
Fantastic. And the time for one more question. Heather, this one's for you. Now, from a clinician's perspective, there is a lot coming at them. They've got alerts, messages, and different tools to handle. How do you make sure that the experience stays focused and doesn't overwhelm them?
Sure. I think, and it goes back to the clinical workflow driving the experience, right? And make sure to focus on delivering to that the right information, the right person at the right time. I'd also suggest forming a governance around this because many times people will be requesting for an alert or a notification to be sent regarding some system or some application, but really having a true governance around this helps create the synergy between the clinical workflow and then the IT technical side.
Wonderful. At this time, we do have to wrap up, and thanks again to all of our speakers for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And once again, we do want to thank our sponsor, Mobile Heartbeat, for their support of this webinar. For our audience, don't forget to take our brief evaluation at the end of today's event and share your thoughts with us. As a reminder, you'll receive an email within 24 hours to re-watch the on-demand recording of today's session, and it'll be available in the HIMSS Resource Hub for a limited time. So feel free to come back and watch at any time. Thanks, everyone, and have a terrific rest of your day.